Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking what is often a chaotic, anxiety-inducing data engineering study guide and turning it into a hyper-focused, strategic battle plan for your next technical interview. Look, if you have ever stared at a blank screen, just agonizing over how to perfectly articulate your back-end architecture experience, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down exactly how to conquer the data engineering screen and, more importantly, how to answer these questions with absolute confidence.
We're breaking this down into 4 clear phases to help lower your anxiety: the perfect introduction, core technical concepts, conquering scenario questions, and finally, closing with confidence.
All right, phase 1, the perfect introduction, where we set the stage. So you sit down, the interviewer leans in and drops that classic, wide-open question, "Tell me about yourself." Now, your goal here isn't to just rattle off a timeline of your past jobs. They literally have your resume sitting right in front of them for that. Instead, you really want to synthesize your experience. Mention your years working with cloud-based platforms or containerized services like Kubernetes. But most importantly, you have to quantify your specific impact out of the gate.
Notice this number right here, 45%. The model answer from our source material doesn't just casually say, "Oh, I made things faster." No, it points to a rock-solid 45% performance improvement over a 2-year period, achieved specifically through partitioning schemes and the integration of new data warehouse solutions like Snowflake. Bringing hard data to a data interview, that is exactly how you set the hook.
Moving right along to phase 2, core technical concepts, also known as the tech screen.
Okay, so you nailed the intro. Now the interviewer is going to pivot to testing your foundational vocabulary to make sure you actually understand the architecture you've been claiming to build. Almost inevitably, you're going to be put in the hot seat to define the absolute core of the job. What do you mean by a data pipeline? It sounds basic, I know, but precision is absolutely key here.
It's super helpful to think of a pipeline not just as a static tube, but as a complete transportation system, moving data from a source location, System 1, over to a destination, System 2. But the really crucial part you want to emphasize to the interviewer is that the data doesn't just move, it gets converted, optimized, and processed along the entire journey, so it can actually be evaluated for business insights at the end.
And that concept flows perfectly into defining ETL: extract, transform, load. You really want to emphasize why this matters. It's vital because without ETL, data just sits there in a raw, highly unstructured state. If you don't transform and load it properly, it's completely impossible for the business to extract any meaningful insights from all that noise.
Speaking of unstructured data, let's look at another fundamental concept. You'll almost certainly be asked to put structured and unstructured data head-to-head. This is a classic comparison question, and you gotta answer it cleanly.
It's really all about the trade-offs, right? Structured data relies on those rigid database management systems and protocols like SQL. It's orderly, like a neat text file, but scaling its schema is notoriously difficult. Unstructured data, on the other hand, is kind of the Wild West, mostly unmanaged, things like images and videos. Schema scaling is incredibly easy there, but you completely lack that strict, searchable management.
But hey, it's not just about broad definitions. You've got to be ready to break down major frameworks too. Take Hadoop, for example. You need to confidently list its core components to prove you understand how it handles massive amounts of storage and processing power. You've got Hadoop Common for your libraries, HDFS for high-bandwidth distributed storage, Yarn for negotiating resources and scheduling tasks, and MapReduce for the actual large-scale processing. Rattle those off and you instantly prove your foundational depth.
All right, phase 3, conquering scenario questions. This is where we handle the curveballs.
Let's turn up the heat a bit. Interviewers love throwing situational curveballs at you to test your critical thinking, your real-world experience, and honestly, your composure under pressure. Here's a classic panic test. There is a bug in one of the systems you designed. How do you handle it? Listen, they don't actually care about the specific bug. They want to see if you freeze, if you point fingers, or if you apply a systematic approach to production issues.
The secret here? A flawless answer shows a totally calm, methodical procedure. You start by saying you'd identify the root cause using log analysis and system tracing. Then, you test your fixes, you consult the team to make sure everything is documented properly, and crucially, you mention monitoring the system afterward to ensure that bug is entirely squashed. That kind of answer shows real maturity.
Now, let's look at a highly technical, super specific scenario that honestly trips up a ton of candidates. What happens when Blockscanner detects a corrupted data block?
Okay, the key here is to just memorize this exact chronological flow of events. Step 1, the data node reports the bad block over to the name node. Step 2, the name node steps in and makes a replica using an existing healthy model. Step 3, the name node just continues to create replicas according to the established replication factor. Walking through these specific steps confidently shows you truly understand how HDFS handles hardware failures and ensures data integrity.
Of course, they're inevitably going to test your SQL problem-solving chops with a dirty data scenario. Dealing with duplicate data points is a total headache, and how you handle them speaks volumes about your actual proficiency.
This is a great spot to impress them with a two-part answer. First, hit them with the simple approach. Just use the distinct keyword to filter out duplicates from a query view. But then, level up. Explain how you'd physically delete those duplicates from the disk by grouping the table and using the max or min command on the unique row ID to discard the redundancies. That shows deep operational knowledge.
And listen, you absolutely have to be ready for architectural compliance questions. These days, it's not just about the code, it's about the law. If they ask about GDPR, you need to explain how you build pipelines that handle personal data with strict anonymization, using pseudonymization and encryption, along with clear consent mechanisms, deletion functionalities, and rigorous documentation like data protection impact assessments.
Finally, Phase 4, closing with confidence, where you get to turn the tables.
This is it. The technical grilling is finally over. The interviewer leans back and asks that classic closer. So, do you have any questions for us? Guys, saying no here is a massive trap. You must have a strategic, forward-looking response ready to deploy so you end the interview on your terms. Consider this your personal cheat sheet. By asking them about their specific tech stack, the key challenges they anticipate, and how data engineering collaborates with other departments, you instantly shift the entire dynamic. You're showing them that you're already thinking like a senior team member who is invested in the company's long-term success, not just someone looking to clock in for a paycheck.
So you're officially equipped with the playbook to absolutely crush that technical screen, from the perfect intro to turning the tables at the end. But I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. The true test of a senior data engineer isn't just knowing all the answers today. It's your commitment to never stop learning tomorrow. The technology options out there often outpace our ability to learn them all. So how will you maintain your coding versatility and adapt your expertise to the new solutions of the future? Keep that in the back of your mind as you prep. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and seriously, go crush that interview.